Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we return to the Zao, the legendary tier Japanese fire-breathing cruiser, and we have a fantastic, epic, high-damage replay for you guys, but also a few lessons to be learned. This footage was captured a few weeks ago. As you guys know, Wargaming gives us all of the ships, but the legendary ships they only allow us to keep for a few weeks. It's also funny when people are like, hey, how did you whale to get that ship? How much did you pay? And it's like, no, you literally can't access this ship like for the first 6 weeks, but that's always a little fun adventure. But here we are on the map Trap, and this is a good game to highlight the importance of destroyer play as well as why sometimes damage isn't always the end-all be-all. We've talked about this a lot recently, and I've mentioned it in a ton of videos, but a lot of people think that damage and you know, oh, well, I got 100k. Well, yeah, but you didn't really help your team. And this is also the downside of these kind of kiting slash damage dealing cruisers. And as most of you guys know, but some of you may not, cruisers are kind of the jack of all trades in terms of, let's say that the destroyers are meant to spot, the battleships are meant to tank and deal out damage. The cruisers are meant to do a little bit of both. Not necessarily spot, but when the situation calls for it, cruisers can kind of do it all. But here we have this Montana on a single fire. I never recommend putting out that single fire. We're trying to get him on a second fire, and that is when the Shima pops up. Our fellow, I think it was a Daring, did a pretty decent job of trying to spot this Shima. Unfortunately, he decides to sit right in front of a bunch of Japanese torpedoes, and yeah, that was not a good day for him. However, thanks to our friendly battleship and a good amount of fire support from us, we actually did get the trade, as someone you can see here sent me a message, so you can just buy the Zao, huh? Oh, I love when people, it's like you don't know how the game works, but anyway. We got that trade like we mentioned, and now our job is basically relinquished to DPM. If we can work our way into this cap, however, we're definitely going to do so as we set that Montana on a double fire and tick our first epic reload modification. So a tip to battleship players, this is a very dangerous boat, of course. You're going to see a little bit more fire spam when they do, you know, people do complete their bureau projects and it does come into the game, but don't put out a single fire. Anytime you put out a single fire, it is going to set you up to get spammed even more, unless you are, you know you can go on concealment. But a lot of these battleship players just end up kiting away and they don't stop shooting, right? They will take a shot, and because of our angle and our position, we are able to kite away and take minimal damage. But that is when that Yamato pops up, we go ahead and turn in, and here's a pretty good example of that. A slight adjustment of the rudder, and he misses all of those shots. So, as a cruiser main or someone trying to, you know, become better in cruisers, make sure you're paying attention to your position, as well as utilizing overview camera to look at all of the ships shooting at you, and knowing where they are and knowing how to dodge them. Here, though, we're going to go ahead and throw the ship in forward, utilizing this island cover, a little bit of that smoke screen as well. And just a tip for battleship players, if you are getting spammed, don't continue to shoot while the spammer, you know, kites and dodges you. Either close that distance or go dark and reposition. Continuing to shoot from, you know, 17 kilometers is not going to net you very good results. As you can see, that Heisen there shot us for only about 3 or 4k, and we have traded about 85,000 damage from those other two battleships. So yes, you may achieve a lucky hit, potentially get a Citadel, and these Japanese cruisers actually do take Citadels at kind of unique angle. Their armor scheme kind of allows for a little bit of that plunging fire, but continuing just to shoot, especially at a cruiser or a player who knows how to dodge, is just not going to benefit you in terms of overall trades. A lot of this game is simply trading minimal HP or no HP for a good amount of the enemy's HP, and doing that as a battleship player is not a great trade. As our team is quickly learning about, as 2 of our destroyers and 1 of our battleships is already dead in less than 4 minutes. Hasn't this holiday update been an absolute blessing for Legendary tier? But regardless, we're going to try and do our absolute best, as we are still ticking a good amount of fire damage on that Yamato and potentially that Montana out there. I would just like to mention, however, that both the Yamato and the Montana actually made 2 what I would call plus or correct plays as we tick the Witherer there in less than 5 minutes. You gotta love a 5-minute Witherer. I can't wait to read some of the very insightful comments about HE spam on this video, but I want to point out that both the Yamato and that Montana are both alive because they moved their battleship. A lot of people complain about HE spam and they don't do anything to counter it. They just sit there and cry and are already typing up the Facebook or Reddit posts about the HE spam. The Montana and the Yamato actually both countered me a little bit by moving their ship. The Montana kited out. Now, he did shoot, which gave away his position, which allowed us to get a permanent fire. So if you are kind of in that position, try not to shoot unless you have a very high percentage shot. Trying to hit a kiting HE spamming cruiser at 17 kilometers is not a high percentage shot. And contrary to that Montana, that Yamato actually moved in. He gained that island concealment and put himself in a position to not be lobbed by our cruiser. So as I have said in other videos, and people kind of take it to heart, if you are constantly getting HE spammed, you need to reposition and really reevaluate your play. And people take that, it's like, oh, well, no, the HE spam, it's like, okay, well, if we're looking at a cruiser player and he's always getting dev struck, he's not a great cruiser player. If we're looking at a destroyer and he's always, out of position, not getting the caps, backlining, trying to torp battleships, he's not a great destroyer player. So people just get so offended when I say that instead of looking at it, objectively. But all of those points away on how to counter HE spam, how to kind of, better your play as just a general player. Let's go ahead and talk about this game, right? We have ticked 165,000 damage, but if you will notice, we have 5 teammates dead at the 7-minute mark. They did get cap position or cap control. We have 2 caps to their 1, but it doesn't matter if you're dead, right? At this point, there's not enough ships really left on the blue team to really overcome the massive detriment that our fellow blues have left us at. But we're still going to try. We're not in streamer mode where we're just going to give up our ship. So what we're going to do is angle away from this Alaska. He's some pretty decent hits, and he actually, I think, ticked a Citadel on us. So just like we were talking about, these Japanese cruisers can take the hits. You want to angle accordingly. But if you can kind of angle yourself in between that dispersion ellipse while dishing out a good amount of HE spam, you can take yourself a pretty gnarly damage total. Now here comes potentially kind of the main point of the video. Now, of course, we have done our job. We've shot at destroyers. We have supported our team. We didn't leave our flank. However, our team has folded, and that is going to happen. But many times you will see cruiser players kind of avoid their responsibilities and sit behind islands and just straight HE damage hunt. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but you're going to lose games for your team if you're not really utilizing the damage output and gaining position to help your team. So some things to think about as a cruiser player. Did I attract a little bit of damage? Did I potentially spot when I could have? Was I around the caps supporting players or getting the caps myself? And was I dishing out appropriate damage without hiding behind the furthest island that I could find? So many times I will see Worcester players sitting at the very furthest island, lobbing shells at 19 kilometers, and while they may get 100k and a witherer, you have not helped your team in the slightest. So just a little game that I wanted to put up for you guys. We actually tick around, 250? I'll put it on the thumbnail, of course, but a good example of why damage is not the end-all be-all metric that I like to use to measure a good game. Of course it can be, but a lot of players, and we all are guilty of it probably when we first start this game, we're like, ooh, big damage number, this is good. It's, well, did we lose sight of the bigger picture, trying to gain position, trying to gain an advantage for our team? And I think this is really evident with a lot of destroyer players. There's a guy in the Facebook post talking about the Shima, and he's like, no, if I eliminate battleship, it's advantage for the team. And yes, it is, but if you avoid the cap to chase a battleship towards the back of the map, was it really an advantage for your team? And usually, and this is why I prefer domination as we get stuck on the border here, and this is all she wrote. This is why I really like domination much better as a playlist, because it rewards players for playing objectively, right? Trying to go after objectives, trying to get the capture points, and when you do so, you force the enemy team either into losing horrifically or trying to get those capture points. And when you can do that, you can set up the crossfires, etc. But there is our final damage total as we go down. 253,642,000 damage. So a fantastic damage total, but as you can see, this game was not even close, which is very frustrating, but you have to remember it's standard. I mean, I guess even in ranked, you won't get potential teammates with IQ points. So all you can do is your best, but just a message to my cruiser players, don't specifically hunt out damage. Even my battleship players, try and gain a position and fulfill your role. We're going to be having a few tutorial type videos as well as a few grinding the line videos and introductory videos for newer players. As we can see our XP total there, 2,082 on a loss, which would have been 3,000 plus on a win. But there is the Zhao, a fantastic cruiser, a damage dealing, damage attracting, mid, kind of potential backline cruiser. But even with the incredible HE spam we did, the enemy team outplayed our team and we lost as a result. So just providing different points of view for you guys and a fun, exciting, high damage game in the process. I hope you guys learned a little bit from that. Let me know if you did in the comments down below. I love you guys. I will see you guys maybe tonight, maybe not. If not, I'll see you guys sometime soon. Love you guys. Have a happy new year. If you don't see me until then, Aaron out. Peace.